Hello everyone and welcome to another free webinar by Agile Sparks. My name is Ofer Cohen and I'm working as an Agile coach in Agile Sparks for the last 10-11 years. And before that I was a development manager for many years. I was managing a group of around 10 teams, and these days I'm doing mostly Agile and safe implementations, including training, of course. So let me share my screen and we'll get started. So today I will talk about business agility. I will describe why do we need it, what is business agility in general, and I will also describe tips on how to implement that in your organization. So Agile Sparks is a consulting company. We have offices in United States, in Israel, and also in India. I'm myself a Safe Program Consultant Trainer, SPCT, and we have also a few other SPCTs outside of Israel, of course. So during the webinar, you have the opportunity to ask questions. Please post it using the Q&A button. Please don't post it on the chat. It will be quite difficult to find it over there. One more thing that I would like to do, since we have audience from all over the world, what I would like you to do as I start, please type in the chat of Zoom where are you from, your location. We have people from United States, we have people from Europe, we have people from Israel. It would be nice to see where are you located. So just type in the chat where are you from, and I'll get started while you do that. I see people from India as well. So what is business agility? If you look at the formal definition of business agility, whether you look it in Wikipedia or whether you look it in the Scaled Agile Framework site, you will notice that the definition of business agility includes the ability for the organization to adapt to market changes and to adapt to the changes rapidly, so they will be productive and will deliver value the fastest way possible. If we look a bit deeper to what does it mean to adapt to market changes, and I would like to start by saying the fact that in many organizations, we usually start with ad hoc agile or with team level agility, and as the organization moves on with the agile implementation, the organization may scale using Scrum or any other scaling framework like SAFe or any other framework. But in order to achieve real business agility, that might not be enough. What we need to do in order to achieve true business agility, we need to have these 7 core competencies that will be implemented in the organization. These 7 core competencies can be found in the Scaled Agile Framework site. If you click on the business agility, you will get actually this picture that details the 7 core competencies. And for each competency, you have 3 dimensions. So it includes a lot of information on what the organization needs to do in order to achieve business agility. We will go over the main things around the information that you have here. You can always refer to the Scaled Agile Framework site and gain more information. So let's get started with what I see as the important things to gain business agility. So we said we need to adapt to changing markets. COVID-19 is one of the events that happened recently that forces us to change the way that we work. Most of us today are working from home. We changed the processes to adapt to that. But if we look at traditional organizations usually using hierarchy as the main thing to operate. They have functional silos, they have reporting structure, and this limits their ability to adapt to the market changes. Usually an agile organization will work as a group of agile teams, and the important part about that is that these agile teams are focused on collaboration because we need to develop the same solution and deliver solution to the customers. And we are focusing on end-to-end delivery, not just team level agility, not just team level delivery, but in order to deliver complex solution, we need the collaboration and cooperation between multiple teams. And if we look further into that approach, and we look at what John Kotter mentions, so in his book Accelerate, John Kotter mentions the fact that you need to have this dual operating system. On the left side, we have the hierarchy that I just mentioned. And this hierarchy is needed in order to enable future growth of the organization. And on the right side, you have the network or the group of agile teams that are working together in order to deliver value. They are focused on customer need and on fast delivery. And what Kotter mentions, and this is actually what I recommend, what we recommend in Agile Sparks in general, we need to have both operating systems for a successful organization. Some customers that we meet think that in order to implement Agile, they need to get rid of the hierarchy and just implement that network. And in most cases, this may end up as a bad thing. What you need to do is actually make sure that you have this dual operating system coexist, and you are focusing on creating this network to allow the speed delivery of value. So we need actually both of them. What I want to do now before we continue is launch a quick poll on delivery of value. And you will be able to answer the poll. It has a single question. And the question is, do you consistently deliver between 80 to 100% of the planned features of value? And you have 4 answers. I will share the answers once you answer the question. So actually, I'm asking, how predictable are you in your organization or the organization that you are consulting to? So 50% of the people answered. Let's give them another minute to get answers for more people, and then I will share the results. Why do I ask this question? Predictability is one of the main things that managers in the organization, including business people, are aiming for. We would like to commit to customers. We would like to be able to deliver what we committed on. And that's the reason my first question here is, do you have that in your organization? So I'm going to end the poll now. Only one person, I think, left, or 2 that didn't answer. And I will share the results. I hope that you see that. So around 40% said that more false than true, 11% said false, and around 11%, only 11% said that it's true. And actually, this is very similar to what I'm seeing in implementations that I'm involved in. And one of the main drivers for implementation is ability to gain better predictability on what can we deliver, and also when we are able to deliver that. So if we want to deliver better results, we first need to focus on identifying the value stream. The formal definition of what is a value stream appears on this slide, and it actually contains all the steps or all the activities that the organization is doing in order to fulfill a customer request, or in order to deliver a feature. This could be delivering of package from one location to another, implementing a feature in a complex solution, launching a new product. Each organization has its own steps and activities. It always starts over here with a trigger, and it always ends by delivering the value to the customer. The problem with value delivery is that the value doesn't follow the silos in the organization. In order to deliver value, you need collaboration, cooperation of all these business units or silos in the organization. Of course, this is just an example. You might need business people, engineering. In some organizations, you need hardware and software. You definitely need the verification and testing. and also operations to deploy the solution. The problem is that all these hands-off that we have from one BU or from one silo to another are causing delays. And in many cases, they are causing for features and delivery to be blocked. And what I've seen in many organizations is also the fact that these silos are taking care of basically for their own business unit. They are sometimes driven by political things, and this really prevent cooperation and collaboration between those business units. So what we are saying actually regarding business agility, that if value doesn't follow silos, what we need to do is actually implement or create an agile and lean enterprise beyond RT, beyond IT, beyond R&D. We need to implement agile in marketing, in operations. We may need also to implement agile in other parts of the organization like HR and legal in order to better deliver value to the customers. And I will emphasize and go over that in a few minutes. So what are the steps that you need to do in order to promote this business agility in the organization, not just in R&D or IT? So there are three steps. The first step is gain the knowledge on Agile and Lean and start practicing the principles. The second thing is join the value stream and be part of the value stream that I just mentioned. And the third step is actually specialize the principles to the specific domain, to marketing or to operations, to HR. And I'll go over details over these three steps in the next slides. So first of all, we are saying that business teams should adopt and master the Lean Agile mindset and practices. So everyone that is involved in delivering solution will use Agile. You can do that using a kanban board or any other practice in Agile that you find suited for the specific domain. In order for them to have the right mindset, they should be familiar with what are the Lean principles, what are the Agile principles, what is the Scrum, what are the SAFe principles for delivering value and being really an Agile enterprise. And we're talking that you need to have these capabilities or this understanding to all parts of the organization. Why do we need that? We need that because we want to remove the disconnect that we have between the business people and IT and R&D. When I go to customers, I many times hear business people saying that the R&D team always promising us things. They are always late. When we deliver something, they don't deliver what we want, and they simply, maybe even if they don't say it, they don't trust the R&D organization. So we want to make sure that we gain this trust. We want to make sure that we take the business people and we put them as part of the value stream delivery. So step 2 talks about the fact that we want them to join the value stream, so they will join the delivery of value as active participants. And I mentioned it earlier, when you work in silos, you usually try to optimize the silo or your own work, while the value stream talks about the fact that we want to have system thinking and optimize the whole, not just a specific component or a specific silo. So what does it mean actually when we say join the value stream for business people? So you have a few examples in this slide. What do I mean? First of all, we need business people to be part of the events that we do as part of the Agile implementation. It goes from the definition of requirements to refinement of requirements. Business people are usually closer to customers, and we need to make sure that whatever deliver fits the customer eventually. When we do planning, maybe they don't need to be part of the full planning, but they need to know the inputs to the planning, and they need to know what has the team or the Agile release train, the team of teams has committed to. And of course, In Agile, we have fast feedback with demos or showing working solutions. So they should be part of that to get their feedback as fast as possible. If you look at the other parts that are mentioned here in the slide about technical writers that can be part of the Agile release train and also operation people, of course, DevOps should be inside, but also what we call shared services, people that are responsible for infrastructure, security, legal aspects, they need to be part of the value stream as well. In many cases, we can't deliver a solution if we didn't pass all those aspects. So what we actually say is that those shared services people need to work in the same cadence like the other Agile teams. So we'll be able to better align on what are the plans of the teams. So we'll have less items that are blocked that are needed attention by those shared services. So join the value stream is a critical success factor for implementing business agility. It's not easy to convince business people to join the value stream and be part of these events that I just mentioned. But this is really something that makes a difference when you're able to do that. So you should constantly remind them, train them on the Agile aspects, and make sure that gradually and slowly they understand the need to be part of the delivery of value by the different Agile teams. Before I move to step 3, I would like to have another poll. And this poll talks about team and technical agility. It has 3 questions inside. So you will need to answer the 3 questions, and then I will share the results. So let me launch the second poll. And you should see the questions right now. And it talks about using quality practices, about share responsibility of Agile teams, and also about continuous integration and automated tests. The questions are a bit longer in the description, so I'll give people a few more time to answer that. Why do I ask these questions? Team and technical agility is a critical success factor in delivering business agility. And I will mention that later on. It is also something that is really important, not just for technical people, also for business teams to apply quality practices and to apply shared responsibility and automation. Okay. So I will end the polling in a few seconds. So for the first answer, 50% of the answers were more false than true, which means you usually don't use general quality practice, or at least not all of them. Shared responsibility for the design got even worse score than that. And regarding continuous integration and automated tests, also more false than true. The good part about that is that at least for the CI/CD part, nobody said false, which means you're probably on the way to achieve that. Okay, so one of the things that I want to make it clear, and that's the reason I asked this poll, is that many implementations are done in a wrong way. What I mean wrong way, we are not using real Agile teams and we are not using real Agile trains. Real Agile teams means that we create a group of cross-functional team that the team can deliver the value inside the team. I know that in many organizations, it's very difficult due to complexity to deliver value by each team. And that's the reason we have the team of teams, the Agile release train, that is limited to up to 125 people. We expect at least that on the train level, on the team of team level, you will be able to deliver value inside the train. And when I say create real Agile trains, means that you are building the virtual organization or the network of the Agile release train in such a way that you have less dependencies to other parts of the organization. So you are not dependent on other parts of the organization to deliver value. Of course, you might have some dependencies, but the idea is to minimize the dependencies. And I'm emphasizing that because I saw many organizations that are simply taking the existing structure of the organization and creating trains based on the structure of the organization. So actually the network and the hierarchy is the same. And you are losing the fact that you want to deliver value, end-to-end value by the Agile release train. So we should keep that in mind. The other part is make sure that business teams as well as technical teams are using built-in quality standards, like focusing on flow and looking for delays in the flow of delivering the activity, pairing on assignments and having peer review, collective ownership and creating standards, use automation, and also make sure that you have in place the definition of done, which actually says when are we going to finish, or when we finish something, to what standards or to what checklist we should pay attention to. For technical teams, we also would like to have automation. Automation means we are shifting left testing. We are creating the tests as early as possible. If possible, we use test-driven development, behavior-driven development that is actually making sure that we write the tests before the actual design and before the actual development. Other parts of quality is continuous testing through automation, that every new piece of code, whether it's in the development environment or whether we are building something on staging or deployment, is being tested with automation. So we guarantee quality of the delivery. And of course, if possible, run some tests in production to make sure that we did not break things. You need to invest a lot in order to achieve that, and it doesn't come free. But if you want to achieve business agility and sustainability for a long time, you need to gradually invest in those aspects for a better organization in terms of quality and value delivery. So let's move to step 3. Step 3 talks about specializing the principles and practices. What does it mean? It means that we would like to be able to change the way we work for this group of people, for HR, legal, operations, marketing, and you could have other parts of the organization falling under these business teams. For marketing, for example, we may use to define the process in marketing in a Kanban board and apply WIP limits on the Kanban board. So we won't do too many things at the same time concurrently. If we do less things concurrently, we'll finish things earlier. And when we specialize the principle, we can also create, instead of the Agile software manifesto, create Agile marketing manifesto. And instead of doing, for example, marketing campaigns in a waterfall approach, we can start thinking, can we create marketing campaigns in an iterative way and have releases of the marketing campaign, get feedback on how does the marketing campaign progress, and then enhance it like we do with iterations for software development and things like that. Let's look at example from HR on specializing the principles and creating a new way of working. So the example here talks about recruitment and the fact that we can visualize where are we in terms of the recruitment process. And the same applies here. Use Kanban board and change the process so you will have less delays between the different steps. Apply again WIP limits, and of course what you see here is just examples for recruitments. It could be different from one organization to another. The idea is that you invest time in order to evaluate what are your current processes, how you can improve them, where are the bottlenecks. Agile specifically, what you would like to consider is also renew or change the practices of HR to be more lean and agile. And I'm talking about how you create employee engagement. How do you evaluate people? And the evaluation process could be different because we are now talking about shared commitment of the team, and we need to reevaluate some of the practices that you see over here for HR. I'm going over that very quickly. You can search for Google or contact us, and we'll provide you more information about that. So the last step also talks about the fact that leadership team should also should work in more agile way. For example, the agile transformation team, the team who is doing the agile transformation should work in an agile way, means work in sprints, have a long-term plan for a PI or for a quarter, do demo of what we achieved until now, what we are going to achieve in the next iteration, what we are going to achieve in the next PI, and creating visibility both for the transformation itself and also for management and leadership team. Creating visibility on what are we working will create a better engaged organization. I think this is almost the last poll, and this poll talks about customer centricity and design thinking. This will be a shorter poll, and we are talking about, we have here 2 questions. I will launch this poll, and please answer the next 2 questions, and then I'll explain about the customer centricity and design thinking. So the first question talks about how close are we to the customer? And the second question is, what kind of tools do we use in order to do that? And when we say solution builder, we actually mean the teams, not a specific person who talks to the customer, but different people from the agile teams and from the business teams. How close are we to the customer, and do we use any of the tools that are mentioned here? All right, so I'm going to end the poll in a few seconds. Currently, for the first question, there were more than a quarter of the people that says true, which is very nice, which means the solution builders know the customer. And about 40% said more false than true or false. And for the second question, using empathy maps, journey maps, and others, majority of people said no for that. And I'm sharing the results right now. So if you want to achieve business agility, you need to create a customer-centric organization. What does it mean, customer-centric organization? It means all the things that you see here on the slide. And actually, I've seen that many organizations are sending or using people to send to customers only when there are problems at customer sites and they need to do firefighting in production at customer sites. But what we actually mean by customer centricity is to change the mindset of the organization, that everything is about the customer, and make sure that all parts of the organization, all the teams know who is the customer by using persona, who is, what is the processes that we use at the customer site. When the people who build the solution will have a better understanding of how the customer works, they will be able to deliver a solution that is better fit to the customer needs. So important part here is the Gemba and go and see and visit customers. Now I know that in COVID-19, visiting customers is not an easy way to do, but anyhow, there are other ways for you to engage with customers, understand their problems, and find a solution. The other part that is also critical in that aspect of mindset is also measure how did we deliver. So we deliver the feature. Do we check, is the feature being used? Did we ask the customer, did we solve your problem by delivering that? And this part of measurements is usually not done because it's very difficult to do, because the customers are very far away, because some organizations don't even know who the customer is. So you may need to implement different analysis, analytics, statistics inside your product in order to verify some of these things. So customer centricity talks about mindset. Design thinking talks about tools that you use in order to implement that. And this double diamond talks about first understanding the problem. In many cases, we don't understand the customer problem, or we mistakenly think the problem is one thing and we design a solution that simply doesn't solve the problem. The second part is design the right solution for that problem. And the design here doesn't talk about technical implementation. The design here talks about the functional design, how you are making the problem solved in your organization, in your tool or in your product, and it's being done by prototyping and by frequent demos and frequent deliverables to the customer. The end result should be that we deliver products that are desirable, feasible, viable, and sustainable. And we want to make sure that we are able to deliver those products continuously. We move on to strategy. I'm a bit late with the content, so I will speed up a bit. Strategy, and the emphasis here is on clear strategy, talks about the fact that some organizations simply don't have a clear strategy. They are focused too much on the current state. And when we define a strategy, we would like to focus on future state. For example, we would like to build a high-end electric car or electric sports car, or we want to build an autonomous car for both people and cargo, or we want to develop web services, including security and all the other aspects of that. So it details the future state. And one of the roles of the leadership is to make sure that you communicate it. And you need to communicate it not only once, you need to constantly communicate it, because the teams need to understand why are we building the things that we do, and to connect them to the real solution that will be in the future. When we implement some parts of that solution, we also need to communicate how much did we progress towards that. The Agile teams need that as a means to create a better motivation for the teams. And the last part talks about the fact that when we have a strategy, we still need to do what we call marketing sense or sense market, and change the strategy if the market has changed. When you change the strategy, it also means that you might need to change the value stream network. You might need to change the way that your Agile teams are organized. You might need to change the Agile release train and create now a new value stream network because you have changed the strategy. One of the things that is important for business agility is innovation culture. Innovation culture means that we don't have an innovation team sits down at the side and creating the next big thing for the company. So it's not just top-down innovation. Creating innovation culture means that we allow teams to take part in the innovation. Each and every team is taking part, and some ideas are coming from the Agile teams itself to the vision of the enterprise and to the strategy of the enterprise. And the role of the leadership is to provide the time and space for the Agile teams to do that. Usually we are focused so much on customer commitments and we don't have enough time for innovation. If we don't have enough time for innovation, we will not be able to get ahead of our competition. And one of the things, in order to implement these innovation activities, we need to do small experiments, get feedback. Are we progressing well? And if not, then pivot to some other alternative. Now, when you're doing innovation activities, you may fail. You may have an idea, but eventually you found out that it's not the right idea. So failure is not a bad thing. Failure is a learning opportunity, and you eliminate things, and then you are more focused on other things that will bring you the right innovation. Examples for companies that were late with strategy change or did not have enough innovation. So you have here Blockbuster, Polaroid, and Kodak. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with those companies. The important part about Blockbuster, if you can read the small letters on the left side, is that in 2000, Netflix approached Blockbuster with an offer to sell their company to Blockbuster for $50 million. And Blockbuster thought that this is a very niche business and decided not to do that. And 10 years later, Blockbuster went to bankruptcy, and we know where Netflix is today. So you need to sense the market and change strategy when needed, and you need to invest in innovation. Another way to improve business agility is with community of practice. Community of practice makes sure that you are sharing knowledge inside the organization. You are learning from each other, and you're using the community of practice to solve problems and enhance the learning in general in the organization. Examples for community of practice. This could be a forum or community of practice of Scrum Masters, product owner, Agile coaches, back-end or front-end development, automation, and so on. The problem with community of practice that you need to manage that. You need to invest time in it. So there should be someone who leads the community of practice. And when people are joining the community of practice, make sure that whoever the leader is, he is emphasizing the need for shared responsibility for bringing knowledge into the community of practice. It's not just for solving problems, it's for sharing experience. And in some cases, you may need to bring an expert to the community of practice. So we're talking about maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, that this community of practice meets and sharing information and continuously evolving the way that the organization is working. So how do you start the business agility? First of all, you need to start with a baseline. A baseline means that you are conducting some kind of an assessment that will let you know where are you today, and will be able to identify things that you want to improve. The assessment that you see on the right here is an assessment that is called Business Agility Self-Assessment that is coming from SAFE. The questions that I asked in the poll are example for questions that you can see in this Business Agility Self-Assessment. You have many other questions for you to answer when you're running the Business Agility Self-Assessment. The emphasis here is whether you're using this assessment or any other assessment for your organization, run it more than one time, run it like twice a year, and use it as a self-assessment. This is an assessment that is done by the Agile teams, by the people who do the work. It is not an assessment of management of how the teams are working, because you want to get to the root cause of things. So what do you need to measure when we are looking at business agility? The first thing that we want to measure is lead time. How much time it takes us from the moment that we have a trigger, the moment we have a request, until we deliver it to the customer. Another thing that you might want to measure is cycle time. The only difference is that cycle time measures from the moment we started actually working on it. Remember, we are focusing on delivering value. We want to measure how fast we deliver the value. These measurements will give you that. And I can tell you that this is, again, something that I don't see organizations using that enough. focusing on lead time, focusing on average cycle time for delivering things, both on the business side and on Agile teams, is very critical in order to have a better agility on the business level and on the R&D level. And of course, implementing WIP limit is part of that. Now, when I say the word value, I usually mean dollars, but value can also mean things around reducing risk and also gaining additional knowledge. But how do we measure the value itself? We measure the value itself in the following way. We set business goals and we set sprint goals for, so we set business goals for each sprint and for each PI. What you see here is business goals or objective per PI, but the same applies for a sprint. PI means like a quarter, if you're not familiar with the Scaled Agile framework terms. And for each one of these objectives that are stated in a business way, not technical way, we assign business value from 1 to 10. So this could be 9, this could be 7, and this is relative estimate. So something that is a 5 is half of the value of a 10. And then you give it a business value during the planning, and then you evaluate how much value you actually delivered. So you plan to do 10, you actually delivered only parts of this solution, so you might get only 8 eventually. And this is done relatively. Is it easy to do that? No, but that's the reason you need to have the business people here. That's the reason you need to collaborate with business people and have a discussion with them on the business value and also on the actual business value. Again, I can tell you from experience, when we started implementing that at customer sites, especially for sprints and for PIs or quarter, the language and the emphasis in the organization drastically changed in a better way. Other measurements that you need to do, and this is 2 or 3 slides left. Other measurements that you want to do in terms of KPIs for business agility. So first of all, we are focused on customer. We want to measure customer satisfaction. The best way to measure customer satisfaction is NPS. You see the NPS details here. You usually ask the question, how likely are you to recommend our company to a friend or a colleague? This is also a question that you may ask for ENPS, for employee engagement. Will you recommend a friend to come to work with you? And you have the way to calculate the NPS over here. It's a simple question that gives you a very good answer whether you are satisfied or the customers are satisfied from the product that you do. Other measurements around operational performance that you want to measure is, did you reduce the time to market with the lead time that I mentioned? How many times you're doing deployments? And overall employee productivity in terms of how many features we deliver and how much value we deliver in them. And the last part is financial performance that we would like in some organizations to measure as well. So before I summarize it and go to the open questions, what I would like to mention is 2 trainings that we will have, that I will do. SPC training in September, which covers the topics that we just discussed in a more advanced way, of course, and also the release training engineer training that occurs in October. Both of them will be done by me. If you need more details, you can contact us. So what are the key takeaways for that session? First of all, Agile and Lean implementation is not just for software. You can implement that for business teams, and you want to create business Agile teams, and you want them to join the value stream and be part of the delivery process. Leadership should focus on gaining alignment around strategy and promoting innovation culture. This is critical for employee engagement and for making sure that you are progressing with your products to the market demand. Do business assessment, baseline assessment for where you are today to identify improvement items that you want to do in your organization, whether it's around the way that you are doing the continuous integration or whether the way that you are collecting requirements from customer. So these assessments will focus you on what you need to improve. Use customer centricity, use different tools around personas, customer journey, do frequent demos to customers and get feedback from customers. And when you want to measure things, measure lead time and actual value delivered through business goals or business objectives, and measure NPS. The important part is also measuring employee engagement through eNPS or through other questionnaires. If you have a better engaged employees, they will deliver you better products with better quality. Thank you for attending and listening. And if you have additional questions, I will answer them right now. So a question that I got asked is about, will the deck and the webinar be available to share after the webinar? Definitely yes. We will send the slide deck. We will send also the recording to whoever participated in this webinar and for those who registered as well. Any other questions, guys, that you would like to ask of things that I went through too quickly or was not clear about? Now is the time to ask. I would like also to share my screen, and while you are struggling with what to ask me, I would like to share my screen and show you, if you are not familiar with the Scaled Agile Framework website, I want to focus on one thing that is actually showing the business agility different dimensions and different things. And if you want to focus on lean portfolio management that I didn't cover now, or you want to talk about agile product delivery and how can you improve the business agility in that area, you can go inside and it will have all the details around continuous exploration, continuous integration, continuous deployment, and things like that. So you can find a lot of information over here. Another question is, how can you convince, this was in the chat, I think. Let me see. Yeah, how do you convince business people to join the value stream? As I mentioned, this is very difficult to do, but you should not give up. I've seen many implementations that this is not done. The role of the Agile coach is to explain these business people the importance of it and take them through a session or two. Start with a shorter session explaining what is Agile, why is it important for them to be part of it, and give feedback. Invite them to a demo, invite them to the end of the planning session when you display the next objective for the next PI or for the next quarter to get their attention. And once you invite them to those small activities that actually show them how the Agile team is working and how your Agile train is working, they will want to see more, they will want to be part of it and give you feedback about that. All right, any other questions, guys? All right, so thank you very much and see you in our future trainings or our future webinars. And